Today I'm going to talk a little bit about how social media marketing can help a brand, a business, or a profile of a celebrity. I'm not going to do it in great depth. I'm more going to do this in an effort to stimulate thinking about which way you intend to build your brand, increase your business through the use of social media. To save you a lot of time, don't listen to this video if you think that social media is a quick way to build a business. Building a presence on social media requires a whole host of different strategies to actually get your brand to the level where people accept you, the product, the brand, and everything to do with it. I'd look at 4 things if you want to get an idea of what you need to do to build your business correctly through social media. The first thing is, which site do you want to keep the majority of your presence on? You will find that everybody starts off with 3 or 4 but naturally gravitates towards one that they do most of the social media on eventually. And it's purely a matter of choice and a matter of what you feel fits your business correctly. Once you've decided upon that site, and you may only get to it through gradual use of the social media sites, you should then be looking at doing something called saturation, so that throughout the whole of the site, where it matters, your brand, your personality, your products are being seen. But is one site enough for you? Probably not. So that takes you on to part 2, which is I call it reach. And reach is how many sites you feel you should be seen on. If I take on a client, I normally recommend between 5 and 7. But it all depends on what type of business the client is in, and also what and how long the business has been going. The third one is called visibility. I call myself visibility extremist. It's one of my brands, simply because the whole point of me doing social media is to make myself extremely visible, so I can then contact and connect with people to help my clients succeed. So you could call this exposure. What you're after is exposure. You're after exposure on the social media platforms so that your brand gets noticed. But exposure is one thing, and a bit like the flasher in the park, you might remember it, but unless it's incredibly memorable, you won't remember it unless it's seen repeatedly. If you don't want to be seen like the flasher in the park, you need to include the 4th thing, which is consistency. So you need to do things every day, every week, every month, on a repeated basis. Whatever cycle you feel fits that particular part of your social media strategy, you need to do it on a repeated basis. If you want a very good example of how it works when you don't do things consistently, I was looking at a Twitter account for a business I'm about to get involved in that has been run on an automated basis. It's very rapidly coming up to its anniversary. It'll be an anniversary in about a week for this Twitter account, and after a year on Twitter, it is following 2001 people, which is Twitter's ceiling, and only 500 odd people are following it back. So what's that saying about the social media presence of that brand? What it's saying is that the brand has gone stale because it isn't a social presence. It is a automated, robotic presence. Social media is about connectivity and interactivity, listening, sharing, thinking, creating empathy, helping other people, paying it forward. It is not about just blindly posting out repeated posts. Automated facilities are great for social media. All of us use them, but they shouldn't be the panacea of all your actions on social media. You need to interact with the people on each of these sites. If you wish to do social media for yourself, I like the hotspot method, which is 3 on the site that I'm showing you now. This is finding one site that you like and linking several others to it, but being consistent on all the other sites, so you do post regularly, but creating a real presence on one social media or one professional networking site. As a social media manager, I try and keep a presence on 4 or 5 sites, all as hotspots, but then I'm slightly addicted, so it's also a little bit of an illness. If I could give you some basic pointers of the way I feel it goes, if you're looking to sell from business to business, or B2B as it's called, I would use LinkedIn as your primary site, but back it up with Facebook and Twitter. If you're looking to sell business to consumer, so it's consumers that are buying, I would use Facebook as your primary site. And if you're looking to build up a following where you can build a community and talk to people on a regular basis, I would use Twitter as your primary site and back it up with both of the others. Twitter is actually very, very good for non-profit organisations and charities, a lot better than people ever realise. Other sites you should include in the mix are Pinterest and Google+. Google+ for obvious reasons, because it will help on the basis of search for your site. Right now it's a bit clunky, but it's growing at incredible pace. It grew 43% over a recent period, while some of the other main sites like LinkedIn and Facebook actually have small declines. But this is quite normal for social media sites, so I wouldn't put any great weight on any of these things. They all have their ups and downs, and the trends that all 4 of those sites and Pinterest are all big enough to sustain themselves and all have a certain niche in the community and in the world at large that will sustain them for the future. The next thing to consider in your social media strategy is geographic sites. There are several very large geographic sites dotted about the place. There is, for instance, in Europe there is Xing, Xing. South America there is Orkut, which is owned by Google. In India there's a site called Bridge, BRIJJ. In China there is an English speaking language site called Ushi, USHI. And then of course there's several Russian sites and Romanian sites that have a good presence. The point I'm making is you may be listening to this from any part of the world, and you have to pick a site that actually fits your niche. So we've touched on the connecting of sites, but what else is there out there in social media that needs to be included? There's photograph sites like Flickr and Picasso. There's Instagram, which is now owned by Facebook. All of these ways are other methods of creating interactivity with your customers and potential clients, and build relationships up with strategic partners that can help you build your business. There's blog sites. Twitter's a microblog, but there's proper blog sites like Blogger, WordPress. I prefer WordPress because you have complete control over your copyright, and because the platform is open source and is very, very secure. And there's location-based services like Foursquare and GoWalla. GoWalla was bought out by Facebook, but Foursquare still goes on and has come up with some very, very innovative applications to help people find places and build sales through offers. And there are bookmarking sites like Delicious, Bolt and others. I particularly like Bolt, it's my preference, which is bo.lt. Some of the applications you might like to add to your list to do the job more easily are Hootsuite, which is very well known, where you can post to several different platforms, schedule tweets, schedule posts to LinkedIn, schedule posts to Facebook, and many other sites. Very robust. If you have the pro version, you can share it with staff. Very useful tool. And the other one, which I particularly like since it's been created in my hometown, is Buffer, which just simply allows you to pick a post and put it in the thing, and it'll post it later for you. That goes back to the consistency element of having something posted on a regular basis. It allows you to schedule with Buffer, so you can pick the times of the day when you want things going out. Then of course there are video sites. There's YouTube, Vimeo, both of which you should have a presence on. And if you'd like to download a tool like this, just give me a shout and I'll let you know where it came from. Don't forget niche sites as well. There are regular great niche sites out there to actually help build a brand. For instance, if you're in the pet industry, there are some great niche pet sites. There are social reputation sites like Clout, Peer Index and Cred. And they're quite good fun to use, and they also give people an indication of your social presence. But with all of these things that just randomly try and analyse how good you are or how important you are, don't put a great deal of store on them, because they're a complete irrelevance when it actually comes to your ability to make proper relationships in business with other people. So these things are just guides, but they do help you gain traction as your scores rise. Just thought I'd give you a shot of Pinterest to get you an idea of why it's such a popular site, because it's such a pleasure to actually view it, since it's just covered in pictures. Another thing you can do with Pinterest is you can share your boards. So I've created a board called Inspiration, and I've invited one of my great friends called Heidi Hines from Facebook to actually post on the site too. You can choose who posts on these boards, which helps your exposure, it helps their exposure, so you're helping one another, but you can also create a presence. I like to think of social media about creating a real brand. So when I do my social media, I try and let people know exactly what I'm about and who I am, because my brand is me. So if you look to your left on the screen, you can see there's a board about eye shapes. I just simply created that board to answer a question on LinkedIn. Next to it is the board about design, and I just love the skyline created out of that key. The magic of thinking big, self-improvement, that changed my life completely in the 80s. That brings me on to where I am now, social media and society, which I have several other really excellent posters on the board with me. And the well-known face is Mia Farrow, and I've put her on there because her organisation is doing a lot of work for charity. Well, I've rambled on now for about 12.5 minutes, so I thought I should try and bring some conclusion to what is literally an introduction to social media. Social media is about presence. If you're not present on social media, it'll bypass you. Social media is about interaction. It is about getting involved with the people who are on social media sites. There's a well-known phrase from another industry: people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Pay it forward does genuinely work in social media, even though it's the long game strategy. So if you do have the time to help somebody out, then it's not a bad idea to do it. Obviously you have to be wary of your time, but it does come back in the long term. But you can help people out just by liking what they do, by commenting on what they do, and by sharing what they've shared with you. And if I could give you one gem to take away with you from this training that would make the whole of this training worthwhile, it would be never assume to know how much one connection could help your business. Don't make an assumption about who they know or what they're willing to do to help you. If you truly treat them as a friend, and if you really try and help them, you'll never know who they will tell. Just be wary of the use of your resources, your time, your income, etc., and use it wisely to help other people succeed on social media. Sharing other people's stuff is creating information on your social media profiles. But please don't think that social media is the end to all problems. It should only be a part of your marketing strategy. It's not the be-all and end-all to all situations. An hour a day is all it should take you, 5 days a week. To get things set up to start with, it may take you some considerable time. But once you've got your profiles completed, then it is only a matter of making sure that you actually do something repeatedly on a daily basis. Conversely, I'm not saying that social media won't bring you a great deal of business immediately. I'm just saying you shouldn't expect it to. It wouldn't be a very wise way to start in your social media journey.